What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Knicks Live. I'm your host, Troy, and you could be anywhere in the world this evening, but you chose to be here with me, and I really do appreciate that because we have so much Knicks content to cover today. We're going to be talking about Julius Randle. We're going to be talking about potentially his extension, or maybe if he can get traded. We have an NBA executive that's actually stating Randle could be traded to a Western Conference powerhouse. We're going to be talking about that. And of course, you already know an NBA insider is pushing for the Knicks to start Julius Randle at the center position. We have so many things to discuss today. I can't wait to do it. But as you guys already know, since it is Knicks Live, when we have Knicks Live, we always have a very special guest with us. This highlights content creators. And I have a content creator with me that you guys definitely know. And if you don't know, you're going to know him today. One half of Still Knicks fans. Please help me welcome Ron. What's going on, Ron? Thank you so much for joining the show. Really appreciate you being here, buddy.
Oh, man. Thank you for having me. Definitely a pleasure to be here. Excited about it and ready to get into the conversation.
You know what, man, Ron? I really am happy to have you on the show. It's funny how we started and how everything kind of came up the way it did, because shout out to Double A if he's watching or soon to be watching. This would have never happened without Double A. We were doing a live stream on Friday. It was breaking down so many different reports. And during that stream, he mentioned a comment saying, what you did with Nickinator, who I had on the show last week, you should do it with Ron or Still Knick fans. I'm like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? I should. And then, ironically enough, you jump into the stream right after that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is ironic. We have to get it done. And I'm so happy we did, because I think the fans wanted it. Everybody was hype about the show. And I think it's fun to see your favorite content creators kind of collab. And I think a lot of people like me, they like you. So seeing us together, I think makes a lot of sense. I do want to get to, because I know we talk about so many different things on this show. We're going to get to the Julius Randle stuff, all the Knicks stuff, but I want to start highlighting the content creators like yourself, like John, who's been ducking me. But shout out to John. I do want to get to you in the show. As everybody's seeing on screen right now, we see your Twitter there at Still Knicks fans. You see the subscriber list right there on the YouTube page. Please, if you're not doing so already, the link is in the description. All you have to do is click on it and you can subscribe to this man's channel. I said it already and I'll say it again. If you want to help other YouTubers and you want to help make sure this is a better community, support everybody. If you can, support everybody. And this is what this platform is for. Ron, I want to give you some time here to kind of explain your vision of what Still Knicks fans is for you. A little bit about what you guys do, you and John, and obviously what your vision for the show is. And then after that, we can go into a little bit more about, Julius Randle, all these other topics. And shout out to the chat gang. I see you guys. You're lit. You're live. We will get to you. We will get to your comments. Shout out to Knicks Nation. But I want to throw the floor right now to Ron real quick. So Ron, Still Knicks fans, can you please give me some information about what it is, your vision, and how everything came to be?
Yeah, well, I mean, to surmise, really, it's just one of those things. John and I were really good friends. We're like the best of friends. We have our own little clique of guys that all we do is, rag on each other and talk sports. And we, at a moment when we would play sports, but we're a little older now. So it's a little different. Excuse me. But yeah, so we were already talking sports, and John knew that I was kind of, when the pandemic happened, I was kind of thinking about doing something in the podcast world. It really wasn't going to be sports. It was going to be music and R&B stuff, because that's really my passion. I know a lot about it and I'm into that. But at the time, I just thought that with the way things going on social media and the platforms, I didn't know where I could do that. And YouTube is one of those funky places with all the copyright stuff. So I just kind of stayed away from it. Yeah. So John he came up with the idea. He's like, well, why don't you talk about something else? How about sports? I mean, we're always talking sports. Why don't you think about doing that? He said Mets, and then he said the Knicks, because we watched them and stuff. And he said, you know what? I'll do it with you. And that was the boost that I needed, because I was like, I don't know. But when he said, I'll do it, hey, so we could do it together. And if it's funny, it's funny. If it fails, it fails. But it's together. All right, I'm cool. So anyway, we decided to do that. And, it's just been going good ever since. And then, my whole thing is, like, I've been a fan of the Knicks for so many years and watched the ups and downs and all of the crazy, hires and the staff turnover and the bad moves and the jumping the gun and so throughout all of that, I said, man, I'm still a Knicks fan. That's how we got the name. Still Knicks fans.
I love it, man. I love it. I love the show. I love what you guys do. I love that you guys get the fans involved as well when you do the show. I caught one of your live streams, I think this past weekend, where you were talking about what the topic exactly was, but I saw my man Double A over there. I saw Rex over there as well too. It's all the guys over there talking. I love that atmosphere that you guys have. Can you tell me a little bit about that vision and what made you start getting more fan interaction, as in live interaction with them on video on your show? Because we don't really see that too much from content creators.
Yeah. So when we started the show, we started actually on Monday nights, and it was SKF Weekly. And it was just like a recap of what happened with the Knicks for the previous week. But as we were doing that, I started to notice, I was like, man, we're only on one time a week. And, I don't know if that's enough. There's a lot of content creators, but at that time, it was still a little quiet. So it wasn't as much, content competition as there is now. And so I said, maybe we should think about, doing another show. And John, who has a very say tough day job, and he's got 4 kids, so he's got a lot going on, man. I was like, I knew he wasn't going to be able to do it with me, so I said, you know what, let me try to do something on my own, and just give it a little bit more content to the channel. And so I decided, let me, I'll give up my Saturday mornings and start talking Knicks on Saturday. And when I did it, started to think Mondays is a show that's a little bit more structured, whereas it's just myself and John. Let's make this one a little bit more open-ended and allow people to come up. Now it started tough because people were kind of shy and didn't really want to get on the panel. But after a while, once you see one do it and another do it, and you feel welcomed, it started to develop into something where people feel very comfortable. So that's how it turned into what it is now. Know the Ledge on Saturdays.
And I'm so happy that fans get a chance to obviously hear that, because now they understand where they can go, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay. Now you understand the page to follow. Again, it's right on screen, at Still Knicks Fans. You can see it on YouTube as well too. Follow the page. It doesn't cost you a dime. It doesn't cost you a thing. It's free, and the content is amazing. If I enjoy it and you enjoy my content, then you're going to enjoy their content. So please give them a sub. It doesn't cost you anything, and you're going to realize why you're going to give them a sub after we talk about all of the Knicks stuff we're going to talk about today. We're going to be starting off with the main reason you guys are here today. It's in the thumbnail. It's the title, and I want to talk about it. The main topic is Julius Randle at the 5 next season. Now, this is something that a lot of people have been talking about, Ron, and, I've spoken about it a couple of years ago. Now, that's when I thought it was more of a possibility. Now, I don't think it's a possibility as much anymore, but funny enough, the Athletic's John Hollinger recently spoke about Julius Randle and his role on the Knicks. And as they were talking about potential centers that they could target at the trade deadline, he threw out something. And what he basically said was, and finally, let me offer one other candidate. If this idea would make Thibodeau deeply uncomfortable, but who cares? He's still going to say it anyways. Julius Randle at the 5. Now, Randle at the 5 for me poses a lot of concerns, and I can also see some benefits to it. But before I give my take, before you give your take as well, let's hear what Hollinger has to say on it. So he states, Randle playing center means less rim protection, but you do know what makes rim protection a hint less important, not allowing anyone to get to the paint to begin with. The Knicks now have Bridges to man smaller perimeter players and Anunoby to take on bigger ones. They can switch roles through a game, able to show elite players different looks on the same night. Their point of attack defense, as long as everyone is healthy, should be one of the best in the league. On the other side, the Knicks could feast with a lineup of Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Randle, and let's say Dante DiVincenzo. He continues further by stating, offensively, this unit could play at a torrid pace, especially if you're including Josh Hart in that game, pushing rebounds, pushing the floor, and defensively, they should be so solid on the perimeter that it lessens the need for the rim protection. Now, Hollinger basically said after all of this, yes, I think this is at least something that the Knicks need to experiment with throughout the season, especially if Hart is in the game to alleviate some of those potential rebounding issues. Defensively, Anunoby might end up guarding the opposing 5, not Randle in some of those situations. But the lineup is the same regardless. So what they're basically saying is, in some situations, you definitely could have Randle play the 5. but it doesn't mean he's going to be guarding fives. He can shift back to his 4. OG can shift to the 5. Mikal can shift to the 5. There's so many other players you could potentially put there if you want to run that small ball lineup out there. The only question is, will it work? Now, I have my opinion on it. Now, I have my own reservations on it. Before I give mine, I'd like to throw the floor to you and ask your questions. We obviously heard from John Hollinger from The Athletic. He clearly believes that Randle at the 5 should be explored and experimented with this season. Now, you've watched the Knicks probably longer than I have, if not just as long. So you got to tell me, Randle at the 5? What are your thoughts on that?
That face says it all. I know it's something that people, I mean, other people have said it and brought it up in the past few years that maybe that's something that Tom Thibodeau should explore. He has dabbled with it from time to time. You can tell he doesn't like it. Even I had Alan Hahn on the show 2 weeks ago, and even Alan brought it up and said that that's something that he thinks that Tibbs is going to try again this year. And he admitted once that it doesn't look like Tibbs likes it. So I'm kind of surprised by it. I can see the versatility and the flexibility that it gives the offense. As far as offensively, it's very dynamic, right? Defensively, it gets a little hairy, and the switching would have to happen with, like you said, a possibility of OG, dealing with the centers. But I don't love it. I think it's on a case-by-case basis. I could see how it could turn the Knicks into something really problematic for other teams, because really, with all the different positions of that you have to account for, with double teaming Brunson or trying to double team Randle, like, you can't do it. And then when you have Mikal floating on the wing and OG floating on the other wing, you're in trouble. So I like it. I just don't know how great Tibbs is going to feel about it.
My take is maybe going to be not as shocking, but maybe more a little bit of a rant. Please, God help us. No. We're making a mistake if we're putting Randle at the 5. Listen, I get the benefits. I'm not saying I don't. I understand it. Randle at the 5 could pose problem for some smaller lineups. But the problem is, it's like doing anything with anybody else. Josh Hart can play the 4. Should he? People can play different roles. It's the fact if that is their premier role, the role they're supposed to play. Randle bully ball at the 4. If I'm telling you last season it was godly and we have a better roster this year to pair him with, what is it going to be this year? Why would you ever want to go away from that? There's a reason the Knicks are looking at backup bigs, because they understand Randle at the 5 would not be the answer. Mitchell Robinson at the 5 clearly is not the answer. Jericho Sims doesn't have enough faith at the backup 5 to have the answer. Precious Achiuwa is too small at 6'8" to be the backup, even though he might play those minutes. So what are the Knicks going to do? You can't supplement Randle in there and think somebody else is going to help you play forward. Who's going to do that? You're going to leave a hole there. And yes, I understand. Maybe the defense stops people from getting in. Those are certain teams. You think you're going to stop the Celtics from getting in? You're not going to stop the Celtics from getting in. There are certain teams you can't stop. So you can't play that lineup against those type of teams. And here's the thing. If you couldn't play that lineup against the best teams in the league, why would you play it against anyone else? Why would you try it out if it's not going to work against the best teams in the league? If it's not going to work against the Celtics, and a lineup like that potentially is what you want to use in the postseason, then my question is, why do you do it in the first place? I understand Hollinger's point here about trying and experimenting when you don't have enough at that position. But here's the thing. We actually do have enough. And with our MLE, we can still sign somebody else. I hate the fact that we think we have to play Randle there because we're devoid of talent there. We have talent there. We're just afraid to play the talent there because we don't know if it's going to survive till January when we can make the trade for whoever the center is going to be at the trade deadline. But that's the whole thing. We're making moves now, not because we feel the need to make these moves because it's a smart decision to make at this time. Maybe they are, but it's more so because we're biding our time. We understand what the situation is. We need another backup 5. We don't have one. We're going to ride off to the sunset until we can make that move. And the only time you're going to do that is on December 15th when Precious Achiuwa is ready and available to be traded. So I don't see another reason why the Knicks would ever make a move to Randle at the 5. Thibs has never done it, to your point. It'd be a shift in thinking. It defensively, it's ridiculously dull. It doesn't make any sense to do this defensively. And for Tom Thibodeau, if your goal is to have the best lineup out there, then you'll never, ever see Randle at the 5 because it would never make sense. It would never, ever be called the best lineup out there if Randle's playing the 5. If that's happening, Ron, there has to be a number of issues that have forced that situation to happen. So, that's how I
think
see
that's
it.
fair. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be the only way I could see it possibly is maybe if they are playing a team that is playing small ball, like seriously small ball. Sometimes the Orlando Magic showed us a real small lineup, or maybe some team of that nature that maybe I could see it there. You definitely wouldn't want to do this against a team with a true center, a 7-footer.
No
Like
way.
I don't see why you would do that. Yeah.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Personally, for me, it makes no sense to me. In order to use Randle in that way, you lessen his abilities, and because of the fact that he plays center, he's going to have to think about different things. You're going to change his mindset. You change his mindset, he's already focused on a couple of things. You don't want to change any. You want the game to be as easy as possible for your players. You don't want them to even think. It just should be read and react. You can't read and react properly if you're not playing your right role. You can't. It's impossible. I don't care who you are. You're not a center. You can't read and react like a center would. So I get the whole thing from Hollinger here, but in my opinion, it would be a horrible move. It would be a terrible move, Ron. I would hate the move. But if they did it, I guess I could understand it, trying to experiment and things like that. It just would not be a move that I would want to go too fast. I do want to say shout out to everybody who's smashing the hearts. All I'm seeing on my end right now, Ron, is a bunch of hearts floating up on the top of my screen. It's ridiculous. Thank you guys so much in the chat. Let's go to some comments real quick before we go to the next topic, Ron. I don't want the chat gang to feel like we're eluding them here.
Could I say one more thing about this before you go to the comments?
Yeah.
To your point, another thing to think about when you said the whole thing about a center's mentality and understanding that role.
Yeah.
It's a good point to bring up, especially with Julius Randle, because we do know Julius Randle is not, even though he can bang down low and shows the physicality, he likes to move around in the perimeter and the mid-range area. So if you put him at the center spot, not only you forcing him to be down low more than he really would like to, you're also putting him in a position where he can't be what he wants to be. Because if he tries to float out on the perimeter, now you're losing one of your better rebounders that's going to be out on the floor at that time.
You lose the banging as well too inside. You lose all of that because he's outside. That's the whole thing. I understand the need for it, but I feel like it's sometimes these ideas are thrown out there with not a lot of thought in terms of the players, the roster, the coach, and what type of moves that we're going to probably make. So I just didn't understand it from Hollinger. And I actually respect Hollinger as well too. So I was pretty shocked by a lot of his comments, actually. I made a video the other day about him mentioning Draymond Green to the Knicks. Literally lost my lunch. It was the most disgusting idea I ever heard in my life. He's disrespected the Knicks every day of his life, I feel like. Why the hell do I want him anywhere near my team? No, thank you. Going out to the chat gang, appreciate everybody who's responding right now. Some of your comments will be seen on screen. Some of them I'll read because I can't fit all of it on screen because me and Ron are on screen. We have Raph from Raph Knicks Podcast saying, at Knicks Recap, at Still Knicks Fans. What's up, y'all? Great live stream. Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Great to have you with us, and great for you to be here and join us as well, too. I'd really appreciate that. D-Block says, salute to everyone and my brothers Recap and Ron. Well, salute to you as well, my brother. I really appreciate that. We're so happy to have you and so happy to have you tuning in. John says, I don't like Randle at the 5, but it's only for a few minutes or situational. I think it can work. I think that's to your point, Ron, what you were saying, that in a few situations, depending on the team that you're facing, it could make sense. But again, it's all about the center mentality to my point. And I don't think Randle has that. So I think it's a good conversation to have. That's why I wanted to have it. Lupa says, hello, Troy. What's going on? Hit that like from Andios. Appreciate that. TK Magic Shop says, no way put Randle at center. In my opinion, that's wild. I was saying that to Ron the entire time. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's no reason to do that. You mess up the team chemistry by moving somebody who has no business playing the 5. He's never really done it and not done it in a way that's been successful. And I don't think it's going to be more successful now. So I appreciate that. And thank you so much for the comments. Let's keep it going here. I think we have the comments on screen now. Well, it should be the comments on screen, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we have JM says, Ron, Troy, salute. Okay, Big Ron. Need feedback. Should Randle be traded? You need feedback on that? You didn't hear what me and Ron were saying the entire time? We're going to go into that topic. It's actually the last topic we're going to cover. So if you want to hear about Randle, potential trades, if Randle's even going to be traded at all, stay tuned till the end because that's the last topic we're talking about. And I promise you it's a doozy. But shout out to the chat gang. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for participating tonight. Stay active. Stay over there. I promise you, as I see the chats coming in and I see the comments coming in, we will continue to go to you. But I want to continue the show because Everybody wants to know about Julius Randle, Ron. That has to be the main concern or question right now with most people talking about the Knicks because of that extension. Really, it's so funny because the questions and everything else starting before he signed it was, oh, he's definitely going to sign it. He's definitely going to sign it. He's going to get it offered. No, he's not going to get it offered. They're not going to sign him. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. And then August 3rd comes around, day he's eligible. And what happens? Nothing. Crickets. Next day, what happens? Nothing. Crickets. Now everybody's in an uproar. Well, I don't know what's going on anymore. And I think Randle should be traded. And he can't be traded. He's a core member, a core piece of this team. In my opinion, that's where I stand. But people have their own differences. If you're an NBA executive, though, Ron, sometimes you take your take from this level and you expand it so far that it can't fit on a page. You got to create an article about it. And that's exactly what happened with the heavy.com. Shout out to them. They gave us a report about an NBA executive that states that he's stating that Randle potentially could be traded to a Western Conference powerhouse. That team being the Los Angeles Clippers, which is wild to me because I haven't hearing that team at all, especially in regards to Randle. So that's something that I wanted to discuss today. And according to Sean Daverny from the heavysports.com, in a recent article, he revealed the conversation he had with an NBA executive that floated the LA Clippers as a potential suitor for Randle in the trade market that may otherwise have little options for in New York. The exact quote is the following here. The Knicks do not have a lot of options trying to find the team to take Randle. I want to mention, by the way, nobody at all said that we want to trade Randle. We want to give Randle up, that Randle is available for trade. That hasn't happened. So I don't know what this executive is even talking about. I'm going to continue that. But I just read that. It got me a little bit mad. So I had to mention it before I continue, Ron, because if I didn't, I would have been fuming. So apologies, everybody, but I had to do that. Go back to the report here, though. Going back to this report, as we see here, there's not a lot of teams you can drop him being Randle, into the lineup and they'd be fine. And there's not a lot of teams that want to match up contracts there. But the Clippers could. They want another star for that group. Look around. That is one of the few places where it makes logical sense. Well, logical is a bit of a stretch for me, but because I haven't heard the Clippers at all before. But shout out to the heavy.com and his NBA executive, which again basically stated that the Los Angeles Clippers could be a team that would like to trade for Julius Randle. After hearing this report, Ron, again, this is from an NBA executive, obviously anonymous, because when you give bad takes, you got to remain anonymous. What do you think about Randle potentially headed to the Clippers? Do you think that's a possibility? And do you think it could even happen?
I guess anything's possible. Personally, I don't see it. I like this whole business of trading Julius Randle is real. It's weird for me. You know what I mean? Like my whole thing is I don't want to trade Julius Randle just to trade Julius Randle. There has to be some sound reasoning behind it. I need to see, like, first off, I think as an organization, the New York Knicks have two things they need to worry about. One, with the team that they put forth out there that's going to be this 2024-25 season, will everybody mesh? Will everybody gel? They were gelling before, prior to Randle getting hurt. Then he got hurt, and they've had to kind of, carry the load without him, and they worked really well together. OG was dominant, doing what he had to do, and then even when they lost out on OG, the Knicks still persevered. They still carried on and made it deep into the playoffs for all intents and purposes. So I think I know there's been rumors that there's somebody in the organization that's a little concerned about the fit, doesn't know if Randle's going to fit with this current roster, but you got to give it a chance. You got to see what it is first. That's my thought. See what it is, right? See obviously where Randle is health-wise, how much time he needs to kind of get back into, because if Randle's not healthy, it doesn't look good. I don't care who you're trying to trade him to. They're all going to be like, oh, this guy's damaged goods. We don't want him. So you want Julius Randle to get back to Julius Randle, right? So that's the first thing I think you need to do. It's all about basketball. Can we win games? Can they gel? Can they have that continuity? And then after that, then it becomes, well, if Randle looks like he's playing the way we're used to seeing him play, now it's the contract stuff. Can we work something out with a deal? If two sides are too far apart, then you think about trading him at the trade deadline, get him out of here so you don't lose him, for nothing. But other than that, I don't think I'm just going to I don't care who calls me. I'm not ready to trade him yet. We'll talk later. I'll let you know. There's no reason for me. And the Clippers, I don't even know where that comes from. I don't I don't get it.
And issues, but we got it fixed here. We're good. We're good. Like I was saying though, with regards to with Julius Randle, the main thing with Randle at this point is that don't know what's going on here. There's a lot of things going on here. Okay, never mind. With Julius Randle though, at this point, it's always something on YouTube. You know how the live things go, guys. But I really appreciate everybody for sticking with us and always making sure that you guys are staying with the chat and making sure everybody's in here with us. But again, with the Julius Randle situation, Ron, I just do not understand why we would even consider or even want to trade him to Los Angeles. Trade him at all, mind you. There's nobody worth trading Randle for. There's two people on this planet right now that I would trade Randle for. Two. Giannis and Joker. That's it. And it's only because of the numbers. I'm not trying to lose my brain here. These are numbers based. Randle, whether you like him, you hate him, you don't like him, I don't care. Do this statistically. Look at his numbers, his impact, and what he would give you. Look at anybody else in the league. Who would give you a similar impact if they were traded to a team? Mind you, the chemistry would never be the same. Never. You couldn't replace Randle. You can't. Even if you got the best player available in the league, even if you got Giannis. Here's something nobody's going to like. Even if you got Giannis, his first year would not be a better fit than Julius Randle because it takes time to learn. You need to learn. Did Dame and Giannis work? Everybody told me that was a super team. They didn't do anything super last year. Not a super team to me. We have to prove it. I understand that. The Knicks have a lot of things to prove, Ron. I get it. But we need to prove it with Randle. Trading Randle without seeing what's going to happen here, without understanding what Randle gives this team, his impact, seeing what it could be with OG and Mikal and Jalen and Mitchell Robinson, it's a robbery to fans. It's a robbery to us who's waited this long to see a team like this. My entire lifetime, I've never had a window for winning. Never. For the Knicks never had a window. I barely had blinds on my window. Never. We just got the window installed last year, and now it's open finally, and we're doing something with it. But we can't talk about Julius Randle as if he's some bum on the street that doesn't do anything. And a lot of fans treat Randle as if he's not an impactful contributor. And it bothers me because it's like ever since the thumbs down, Ron, everything has shifted. And I get it. You're upset. I understand. But we have to forgive and forget. He's a different person, a different player. The team is different. We're this close to a championship. You're still upset? It doesn't make sense to trade him anywhere at this point. What does make sense is to watch him rise. The value needs to increase. He has in my opinion, his value probably is worse than it's ever been before right now because you haven't seen him play anything yet. With the injuries, he's getting older to your point. The contract year that he's in. Nobody's going to want him on an expiring deal as well, too, because they know they're going to have to pay him. It doesn't make, you're not going to get the same value, folks. And if you know Leon Rose, what does he work on? Value. He doesn't make a move without getting the cost back. You think he'd trade Randle for 2 second-rounders, a very kind of good star like Jaren Jackson Jr. and some other pieces? You're out of your mind. It wouldn't happen. James Dolan gave this man the backing. He's backed by Dolan, by Rose, by Gerson Rosas, by Worldwide West. That's the brain trust of the Knicks. He's not going anywhere unless he wants to. Ron, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, Ron? Why is this happening every year? It's another story every year. It bothers me. It bothers me. Can you explain the hate for Julius Randle? Is it really because of the thumbs down? Or can you explain it? Do you understand it as much as I do? Because I don't understand why it's still present today. I don't understand why it's here today.
I wish I knew. I'll be honest. I wish I knew. I've asked the question multiple times on my show. I asked Alan Hahn. I'm like, man, Alan's around. He sees all these people. He knows what is it? And, I guess I'm just going to go with what Alan told me. It's just that Julius Randle is a piece that is very attractive when you're trying to make any type of move. And I think, whether it be the organization, whether it be other GMs, whether it be other fans, whether it be our own fans, people know that if you want to try to get anybody good, it's got to start with Julius Randle because you're not trading Jalen Brunson. So it's kind of like he just gets it by default. So that's for a lot of the quote unquote smart thinking fans who actually like the team and want to win and want to get to the promised land. And then there's still people. I mean, I thought it would be over, but you said it. You brought it up. The thumbs down still affects certain people. There's some people that have not moved on. I heard. I had a conversation with somebody maybe about 6 months ago or so, five to 6 months, still bringing up the thumbs down. I'm like, whoa. I mean, hey, what can you say?
I don't know what the therapy maybe. There's a if you're talking about the thumbs down now, you have problems at this point. You can't be affected. We are in contention mode. What are we doing? This executive, I don't know who it is, but the Los Angeles Clippers move, again, it's a far cry from anything that would make sense. Even if I wanted to trade Randle, the last place I would trade him to would be the Clippers. They have nothing that I would want. I don't even want Kawhi at this point is getting up to the point where I would say, yeah, I don't think I want Kawhi because of the load management, the injuries. Had to leave Team USA because of more injuries. I mean, what are we doing here? I don't even know when he's going to play again. The thing is, the Clippers have nothing to offer us. It would be horrible. It would be one of the worst trades we would have made. The only other worst trade before that is the Karl Anthony Towns trade. If they got Karl Anthony Towns for Randle, that'd be the next biggest massacre of horrible, terrible trades. And I hear it all the time from my audience. I hear it from your audience, all Knicks fans really. They talk about the same type of trades. They want to see all these things, but they don't magically want to see how it would look now. We've never seen this roster before. Why do we have to do anything? We've done enough. Let's just use the mid-level, get the other center, whatever player we need, and ride it out into the season. Best team we've ever had in my lifetime. What about you, Ron? What would you rank this team for you, Ron, in terms of teams you've seen for the Knicks?
So I will say it's starting to become maybe the best Knicks team I've seen, but it's not there yet.
Right.
I did get to, witness the teams in the 90s, and they may not have been the sexiest teams offensively, but they were special defensively, and that tough grit they had, like, you just knew that when you went to the Garden or if you were watching them on TV every night, they had a chance to win. So, and they did that for a few years. So I would say they're still right there above, but this Knicks team is different because I feel like I've been here. And I was talking about this the other day. Like that team in the 90s, I was still a young, high schooler. I'm just watching basketball, but I didn't see how it was all built. But we're actually watching this team get built. We're seeing the rookies being involved. We're seeing the acquisition of Brunson, OG, McCall. I saw when Julius came over. Like, I'm seeing everything. And you just feel a lot more connected when you get to see all of these guys come over and work towards this to get to this point where they're at now. So, yeah. If the Knicks win a championship, or even if make the Eastern Conference Finals or the Finals, they may already push above what I looked at with the 90s, because it's a different feel. And
I've watched some of those 90s as well too. For me, about 25 plus years going on. Watched a lot of it with my dad around the 90s as well too. I still remember the shot that never happened. I still remember that, and my father breaking down in tears. And I understood why very, very, very soon after. And I felt the suffering since then. So for me, I kind of feel, what's the word? Not nostalgic, because that never felt this way before. New. I've never been here before. It's new territory for me to kind of puff my chest out and say, I'm a Knicks fan. Because never before you used to be like, hiding it. Like, I'm a Knicks fan. Like nobody used to be proud of it. But like now everybody's kind of puffing their chest out about it. I like that fact that New Yorkers feel proud of their team. And I've always been proud to be a Knicks fan, even when they were losing. I've always loved my team. But I know a lot of fans didn't like that. They didn't like the losing because they didn't like to say, hey, I like a losing team. But hopefully now they feel a little bit better. The Knicks are making the moves they need to make. I think they've done everything that they need to do in terms of this offseason. They've been one of the best teams, in my opinion, of all offseason long. Leon Rose, president, GM, whatever you want to call him, probably the best out of everybody in the offseason thus far. Maybe Sam Presti's up there as well too. But I mean, hey, listen, the moves that they've made to become a championship contender after all the injuries you've had, everything you're dealing with, I think it's pretty impressive. Seeing the chat on screen here, shout out to everybody on screen here. We see Jess Nick saying Randle hasn't played with this team. Question Gilman. What is he saying? Question Gilman. Not sure what that meant. John Petty says, arguing with the refs, tell me one player that doesn't do that. LeBron argues with the refs more than he plays defense. I guess that they're talking about Randle in regards to what they do when he's in the game, if he complains, because I know it's been a big thing for Randle. That when he's in games, sometimes he just keeps complaining with the referees going at them. I don't remember seeing that in January at all, actually, or even after the trade. Really, I don't remember seeing that. Ron, do you recall any like issues with Randle and him complaining? I really don't feel like he started doing that after the trade. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think so. There's a little. I don't know what. How do they mean complaining? Like on court complaining?
I'm assuming they mean on court complaining to the refs. How after like the calls, how he gets angry, all that stuff.
Okay, I didn't see a lot of that personally.
Yeah.
When he was, because I do know that there is a video going around from some once again going back to someone who wants to get Julius Randle up out of here, of Julius kind of talking to Jalen Brunson about a play and not being the nicest about it, arguing about something. But that's going to happen on the basketball players or any sports team. Guys are going to talk, and they're not always going to agree on everything, especially when it's heated, your competitor in certain moments. But that doesn't mean like 2 minutes later, they weren't piecing it up, giving each other